And right now it's time for that time when we talk to our special guest. Tonight our special guest is one of New Zealand's most famous imports, Roy Phillips from the Peddlers. Many of our baby boomer viewers will remember well the impact and enjoyment of their music during the late 60s and 70s. How do I know? I was there, loving it like everyone else. Roy Phillips from the Peddlers.
Greetings.
What an honour. What an honour. I bow my head.
Bow thee not, I tell you, stout yeoman.
Thank you, Roy, all the way from Christchurch. I know you've been doing a New Zealand tour, but at the end of that tour, you've dropped into the studios of The Beat Goes On, and we are very appreciative. Thank you very much.
Thanks for the opportunity.
Our baby boomer viewers, it's a baby boomer chat show, Roy. Do they know the Peddlers? Wow, do they know the Peddlers?
The world we're not in. Close the door on the world and its troubles. We don't need nobody else. When there's you and me, we've got all that we need. I don't want to hear the shallow words the world is saying. I don't want to play the complicated games they're playing. So I stay to join in. When the people come knocking, tell the world we're not in.
I'm going to give you a chance to say something now, Roy.
Well, okay. Just give me the nod. Yes, we started the Peddlers off in the 1964.
Wow. Yeah.
And
that's in England, of course.
That's in England. But before that, I was doing session work for a guy called Joe Meek.
That's right.
And Joe Meek was the crazy man of pop in those days.
And his biggest hit, of course, I'll tell our viewers, was
Telstar.
Telstar by the Tornadoes. That's
right.
Got Joe on the road, didn't it?
That's right,
Yeah.
yes. And we went through quite a few years with Joe, getting sessions off of him and watching madness personified. And it certainly was. Yeah. And the last time I ever saw him I was carting because I played guitar in those days.
Yes, I noticed that, because I always saw you as a Hammond organ man.
Yeah. Well, this came after that.
Started off as a guitarist.
Yes. Well, Manfred Mann and I got together and we decided that Hammond organs were going to be the thing. And,
they were too, weren't
they? They took off. But anyway, the last time I went to see Joe, I thought I had a session.
He did commit suicide, didn't he?
Yeah, and I arrived at the studio in 284 Holloway Road, North London, and it was surrounded by police. I'd never seen so many police, and they said, "Where are you going?" And I said, "I've got a session upstairs at RGM Sound," which was Joe Meek's. And the policeman said, "Oh, no, you haven't. No. And he says, "Look up the stairs." And I looked up the stairs leading into his studios, or studio, which was his bedroom. You know? And Joe's brains made a great design on the wall. And,
really?
It was a very sad time. It was a very sad time.
And there was something about the landlady as well.
That's right, Mrs. Shenton. Yeah. Mrs. Shenton owned a leather shop underneath. And she was basically his mother. She used to bring him a cup of tea in the morning and make sure he ate his food. And unbeknownst to her, Joe had many shotguns in his studio up there, which he used to, I believe he used to do clay pigeon and things like that. And Mrs. Shenton walked up the stairs and he'd been taking too many pills.
Too many pills. And he shot her or something.
He shot her and then
turned the gun on himself.
Turned the gun on himself.
Wow.
And we never did get that session. I know we can joke about it now, but some pretty awful things went on around that time.
England at that time, 1964, you're describing what a fantastic period. The Beatles had just broke America, hadn't they? And our generation, the baby boomers, we were taking off like a rocket, weren't we?
That's right. That's right.
Everything was exciting. Everything.
That's right. I mean, there were bands like, of course, The Who, Status Quo and all that, playing in places like the Marquee Club and what have you. It was just a wonderful, wonderful time, an inventive time with popular music, then, in which the Brits were setting the world alight, really. I mean, we've had American for donkey's years, but the Brits, there was something about them. Then my bass player, as I had then, he was one of Joe Meek's session bass players. Came to Manchester with me, and we found a drummer called Trevor Morace.
Yes,
Trevor. And dear Trevor he was just going to join the Beatles. Bestie had left.
That's right, Pete Best.
Yeah, Pete had left. And so Trevor was going to take over.
Did he audition, did he? Or?
And he came along to one of our things because we were looking for a drummer.
Yeah.
And he said, weigh it up whether he wanted to have a bit of swing element in his playing, or go with the Beatles where there was absolutely no swing at all. You know, it was quite the opposite. So he chose us, and of course we all got together through then. And
now, was that a good decision on his part or a bad decision?
Oh, it was a wonderful decision. But Trevor Morace was part mad and part genius. He was absolutely
He was a showman
wonderful.
drummer, wasn't he?
Fabulous showman drummer.
Yeah. I don't know whether he was the greatest drummer in the world, but as a showman.
That's right.
Fantastic.
If we had to make up the half bars that Trevor left out, we'd be still playing today, you know.
One day, you had a song, and I know you're sick of talking about it, but the song called Girlie. And
I'm not sick of talking about it.
You're not sick of talking about it?
No, certainly not. It was
everybody-
wonderful for me.
Yeah, it was. But I want to ask you, I always love those background information. Did you write that song?
Yes.
You're right. Yes. When you wrote it, did you think, wow, this is going to be a hit? Or tell us the story.
No. I wrote it as a poem. I used to sort of write poems. I suppose you'd call them ditties. Ditties and scribblings. And I happened to mention it to a few people at a club we were working called the Pickwick Club. That I think this could go to a little bit of a different height, you know, and make it last about 13 minutes, the whole thing on record. So, okay, we did. So I borrowed a little bit of classical theme for the Hammond organ, and the rest came by using a wah-wah pedal that I just had fitted onto the Hammond.
You're the hello and a welcome, and the answer to a prayer. You're a passage of Beethoven, child. Like a precious stone, you're rare. You're the little touch of sadness, but you're overwhelming joy. You're that never-ending mystery in the mind of every boy. You're the most expensive perfume with the scent of morning air. You're that wonder of God's creation, child. I'd love the world to share, and I still love you, girlie. I love you, girlie.
Wonderful voice.
Well, that's lovely. I mean,
Yeah,
thank you.
no, it was, wasn't it? Yeah.
Well, I tell you what, before we started the band in Manchester, while we were starting the band, we were looking for a singer.
Yes.
And I couldn't find a singer at all. We advertised in the Manchester Evening Gazette.
Yeah.
Still got nothing. But anyway, I ended up doing it because we had a gig coming up. Yeah. So that was about it.
Wow. So now you recorded it. Did any of the technicians, did any of the managers, did anybody say this is a hit?
Yes.
Did they say that?
Yes, they did. Yes.
They did, as soon as they heard it.
Well, a guy called Mike Clayton, who was the head of IBC Studios in Portland Place in London, said, I think we've got something here.
Yeah.
You know? And there was several mistakes on there, glaring, because I have to change over to grand piano for a solo.
Nobody else would notice except you.
Yeah, well, I think we all noticed them, and when I listen to them today, I still go, ooh, ouch. And that was it. And they said, no, we're not changing a thing. Next thing I know, it was #1 in Italy, #1 in France.
And Now, this is the other fascinating story about the Peddlers. For some unknown reason, well, we've never, New Zealand took to the Peddlers.
They did.
They just loved you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you know why? Why did New Zealanders love the Peddlers so much?
Do you know, I don't know. The first tour we ever did for Mr. Warren, Phil Warren, was 6 weeks, and it was dates from hell. We played every small town in the North and South Island.
And you packed them out, didn't you?
It was wonderful.
Yes, exactly.
And it just reminded me of our home London clubs at that time, you know.
Let me tell you, my going to see the Peddlers, absolutely jam-packed, and the show, people went mad about the Peddlers, and I was there, and wow, just knocked out. So
it was like winning the jackpot.
Yes, it was.
Really,
Now,
yeah.
as a result of that, your feelings towards New Zealand, you've ended up living your life in New Zealand, haven't you?
Yes. Yeah, I came 1981. I said goodbye, cruel world of London. I'm going to live in a little bit of paradise, and Waitangi beckoned, and I just saw New Zealand as really an honest and open place. You know, the people there was absolutely no BS at all about it. They told you straight to your face. Now, I come from a place in England right on the south coast called Dorset, and they do exactly the same thing. Yeah. A spade is a spade. And let's not waste time by total BS. Can't stand it, never could, never will. And the New Zealanders were like that for me, and so I'm home.
Now, when are you going to live in Auckland? Why are you ignoring Auckland?
Well, I'm not ignoring.
You're not coming to live with us.
To be honest with you, I don't want to.
You don't.
I live in Christchurch with my wonderful lady, and that is the home. We may move out of there from time to time. We're not great big city people anymore. Well, I'm not. I like the quiet life. A very quiet life, in fact, and as long as I've got my studio at home that I can create, I'm very, very happy.
So much to ask, but a little bit of philosophy now. What's the journey been all about? What, if you had to sum it up, what has Roy Phillips learned in this time around, on this particular reincarnation? What lessons were you to learn, and what have you learned?
Oh, lessons! My God, how long do you say you've got on this?
I thought I'd get the easy ones in first.
I like music. I love music. I play with music. I have fun with music, and I think my life has just been fun. Just great fun, and it's a privilege. That's what it is, pure privilege.
So when you meet your maker, you'll be able to stand there and say, wow, that was a great time. I had a beauty.
Long as he doesn't put me sitting next to a drummer, I'll be happy.
A little bit about Mum and Dad. In fact, I read on your website that, in fact, were you adopted?
Yes.
You were adopted. Yes. Did you ever meet your Mum and Dad, real biological?
No, I didn't want to.
You never
My father gave me the opportunity.
Yeah.
But no, I never wanted to. Why? I had wonderful things.
So the two parents that did adopt you, he was a gold leaf?
He was an interior painter and decorator.
Exactly.
And he used to specialise in doing these stately homes.
And his name was Frankie.
Frankie.
And what was your mum's name?
Mum's name was, there was many. My mum's name, she was called Dolly by all her friends, and her name was Margaret.
Frankie and Dolly. Now, I just want to say, you love them to pieces.
Oh, Lordy. My father is the only hero I've had in the world. I've played with so many wonderful people. For years I worked with Sinatra and.
Okay, what was it about Frankie, your dad, that you loved most? What was it about?
He was an honest, good. I would say Christian. He was a Christian. He wasn't like a God-fearing or anything like that, but he was a Christian man.
And he said to you, Roy, you can meet your biological father and mother, but
No, he
gave
didn't
you
say that. He
opportunity.
just said you can have the opportunity to know who your mother was. My father, I think, was some dirty little American that that had joined the war years. Thought he'd have a bit of fun with a local girl.
Oh, one of those, eh?
But no, dear old dad. He did say. He says, you know, if you want to know something.
And so you
but
said
I'd had no need to.
you could have met your mum, and you said no.
Oh no, I wasn't remotely interested.
And she didn't seek you out?
No.
No. Roy, it's been wonderful. I can't believe it. All those years ago, 1969, me paying my could I have it back now? Thanks.
Yeah, already.
Paying my hard-earned money to go and see Roy and the Peddlers, Roy Phillips and the Peddlers, and what a wonderful concert it was. And here I am, 2017, having a chat with you. It's wonderful, isn't it?
That's wonderful.
Yeah,
Isn't it?
yeah.
The world is just.
That's the last time I saw you. Roy, we're going to see you on the program again. You're going to come to Auckland.
sincerely hope
You're going
you
to leave Christchurch and come up here and be on The Beat Goes On more regularly. Wouldn't that be wonderful?
Thank you.
Thanks, Roy.